In the previous video, we created our Home Controls project and set up our application window with a nice background image. Now, we're ready to add structure to our application using visual containers and layouts. Before we add any controls to our application, we will take a moment to add some visual structure or layout for them. While we won't discuss layouts in depth, you should gain a fundamental understanding of how they can help us position our controls and improve our app's scalability. Let's start by adding a couple of QML files to our project, one named ClimateControl.qml and the other ZoneControl.qml. From the project tree, right-click the App Home Controls project and choose Add New. Choose Qt QML file, QtQuick2, and give it the name ClimateControls.qml. The QML file extension is offered by default, so we can skip that next time round. Let's create another QML file for zone controls in the same way. Our home control system will have two zones, which means we create two instances of the zone controls component. However, you could add as many as you like just to see how easy it is to reuse QML components. This is called encapsulation. Open Main.qml and create an instance of climate controls in our application window. Use anchors.fill and set it to the parent to ensure that the climate controls fill the window. In ClimateControls.qml, we see a single Qt quick import and an empty item component. We will need to import Qt quick controls using the basic style and the layouts module, so let's add these imports at the top of the file. We will also need the same modules within the zone controls file, so let's add them whilst we remember. Returning to climate controls, let's introduce a new control, Page. Page is a useful control that provides a content item and background, padding, and inset like every other control, but also adds a header and a footer. Its visual layout is like application window, just without the menu bar. Page will also shrink to fit its contents if it has no explicit size set. This can be a very useful feature. We will add a header later. Update the root item to Page and give it a padding of 10. As a useful tip, remember that this sets the top padding, bottom padding, left padding, and right padding to the same value as a convenient shortcut. To visualize the placement and boundaries of the controls we will add later, we can add temporary background rectangles with a unique color. The climate controls component will have two instances of zone controls laid out in a vertical column. Using ColumnLayout, we'll set anchors.fill to parent so it fills the page. Let's also give it a spacing of 10. You can customize the spacing and padding throughout the course, but we'll stick with 10 for now. If you do not specify a value, it will use the default value from the Qt Quick Controls basic style. Create an instance of zone controls and give it an ID, Zone 1. Each zone control will share an equal amount of the column layout width and fill its height. To do this, we can set Layout.fillWidth to true and Layout.fillHeight to true. These are called attached properties. Without going into unnecessary detail here, they simply help the column layout know how to resize the items it is responsible for. Now we have a basis for our zone control instance, add another, and set the ID to Zone 2. We now have our Climate Controls QML document containing a page with a column layout arranging our two instances of zone controls. Let's now do the same for the zone control and set up its layout structure, ready for us to add all the interesting content. Here we will introduce another control, Pane. We will set this as the root. Pane looks and works just like Page but doesn't have a header or footer. If you want to experiment later on, try changing Pane to Page and add your own headers and footers for the zone controls. Once again, to visualize the layout and its relationships, we will add a background rectangle. We can give the zone controls a horizontal row layout, which fills the pane, and two column layouts sharing the available width of the row layout. Column layouts and row layouts automatically fill each other, so we don't need to specify a value here. Let's use our trusty 10 spacing here too. Each column layout will similarly contain a rectangle with the same layout attached properties we used before, so we can visualize our app's layout. Let's see how things look by building and running the app. The climate control component is in red and fills the whole window. Our two zone control instances are green with some padding from climate controls. Each zone control has two blue areas, left and right, with some spacing provided from the row layout. We now have our visual structure in place with layouts that will help position all our controls. In the following video, we'll start adding the actual cute quick controls, including labels, checkboxes, switches, dials, and sliders, bringing our home control interface to life. Let's dive into the controls.